So one of the distinctions that Russell really wants to make very strongly in the beginning of chapter 12, Truth and Falsehood, is that there's a big difference between saying what truth and falsehood are, that is, providing a theory of truth, as opposed to being able to say how we are able, if we are able, to tell the difference between truth and falsehood. I think, unsurprisingly, he believes that the second question is much more difficult than the first. He says towards the beginning of this chapter, since erroneous beliefs are often held just as strongly as true beliefs, it becomes a difficult question how they are to be distinguished from true beliefs. How are we to know in a given case, in any given particular real-life instance, that our belief is not erroneous? This is a question of the very greatest difficulty, to which no completely satisfactory answer is possible. Maybe that's maybe a startling admission, isn't it, on the part of a philosopher? And there's no doubt that that means that Russell is a kind of a skeptic. That is, it's undeniable. That is, if you believe that in any particular instance that it is impossible to be absolutely sure whether your belief is true or not, then there's a degree of skepticism there. Now, how this fits in with his idea of intuitive knowledge, in which it seems that we can be sure that we have an absolute truth in our hands, I'm not quite sure. But I think that it may have, that may be cleared up a little bit later when he introduces the idea of a fact, which is an absolutely crucial aspect of his theory of truth. But the important thing here is to realize that in this chapter, Truth and Falsehood, he is not interested in providing a method or explaining how we can, in any given case, determine whether our beliefs are true or false. What he's interested in here, again, is a theory of truth. That is, what is the meaning of truth? What does it mean to say a belief is true? Not that we could, in any particular instance, be able to say with absolute certainty that our belief is true, but given that some of our beliefs probably are true, or that it's possible for a belief to be true, what is it that makes it true? And that's another really important aspect here of his theory of truth, is that, first of all, truth, as we've seen, is something that we would apply to, or a way we would describe a belief, a statement, a proposition, and really it's a belief here. That is a belief that a particular person has that we're talking about. So then maybe the question is, what is it when a belief is true that makes it true? And one of the things that he's very solid about is that something else must make a belief true. That is, we have beliefs of different sorts. And one of the things that he wants to reject is any idea that there is some inherent or essential characteristic of a belief, or some intrinsic character of a belief that would make it true. It's always something else which makes it true. He says a little bit later on that although truth and falsehood are properties of beliefs and statements, he says, that is, that when we talk about truth and falsehood, we're not talking about things being true or false. We're talking about beliefs or statements being true or false. He says, but as against what we have just said, it is to be observed that the truth or falsehood of a belief always depends upon something which lies outside the belief itself. So he says a little bit later after that, no degree of vividness in my belief or of care in arriving at it prevents it from being false. Truth and falsehood are properties of beliefs. They are properties dependent upon the relations of the beliefs to other things, not upon any internal quality of the beliefs. So this is leading up to what is known as, and Russell is a very famous 20th century proponent of, a theory of truth that says truth consists of correspondence to reality. That is, we say that it's only beliefs, statements, propositions that can be true or false. And we say that a belief, statement, or proposition is true when it corresponds to reality, when it corresponds to the way the world is. It is false when it does not correspond to the way the world is. So, although truth and falsity are properties of beliefs, they are not intrinsic or internal properties of beliefs, they are relational properties of beliefs. That is, we have to take into account how that belief actually relates to something beyond that belief in order to say whether it's true or false. So I think that is perhaps the most important aspect of the theory of truth that's being pounded here. That is, that truth, in some way or another, has to be characterized as a relation. And that relation is a relation of correspondence with reality. Now, the details of what he gets into here in trying to argue, what sort of theory of truth is satisfactory are a little bit tricky, but maybe we'll talk a little bit about those in further videos.